Hey friends, I'm snuggled up outside. I think it's like 40 something degrees. It's not too bad, but I'm at my favorite cafe, Scandi Coffee. I love it here. And when I teach chair yoga on Mondays, I come here and I hang out and I do some marketing and some stuff for yoga and wellness, and I just chill out. Sometimes I work another job, but today I have a training for a new job because I got fired yesterday. I've never been fired ever from anything, ever. And the hoot of it all, this is really hilarious, is I was working at the same restaurant that the owner of the farmhouse worked at when he was in his 40s, and he had never been fired from a job before. And he got fired from this same restaurant for the first time ever. So when I came home yesterday, when I came back to the house, we did a little congratulatory fist bump, like, yeah. Hilarious. So his take on why I got fired was that we're in the South and I am from the North and I speak my mind. And I spoke up and I said something. I got fired over something I said, nothing that I did. I'm always the first one to arrive. I'm a really hard worker. I have a strong work ethic. I'm not going to bash this place or anybody there, but I got fired by the chef, which is very interesting because chefs normally manage back of house and I was a server, so I'm the front of house, but he asked a manager if he could fire me and the manager said yes. So I'm like, I think it's hilarious. To be quite honest, I have a training for a new job tonight. I mean, I was on my way out the door anyway. There was a lot of things that I didn't care for, but the even funnier thing is that the building that the restaurant is in, the restaurant just moved. The restaurant's been a staple in the area that I'm in for, I think, like 30 years. And they moved to a new building, and I was serving one night. I didn't always feel good being there, and I felt a lot of tension. It was just a very weird environment. A lot of cooks in the kitchen. A lot of things didn't make sense to me, and because I really live an intentional life and I do things that are purposeful. Yes, I'm serving because, I need an income, but I'm pretty strategic in the places that I choose. Like when I was part of opening up the French bistro, that was very exciting, and I loved that chef's mission and his vision, and he's a risk taker and like super bold, and he was doing something really out of the box, and I love people like that. So I was like, yeah, this is awesome. So anyway, the building used to be a prison. And when I found that out from a table that I was serving one night, I was like, oh my God, that this is it. I feel like I'm in prison. Like, this is how I feel when I come here. And so, I was like, oh my gosh, I got fired for the first time and I got out of jail. Like, I'm free. So I understand to an extent what these managers were doing, but when you show up for a shift and you're getting like $2.30 an hour and you're overstaffed, you go to work to make money, and everyone's time is valuable, and these managers are getting salaried, so they don't care, right? And so oftentimes, I'm there and I'm not. You're waiting to for tables. You're essentially waiting to make money, and it's very frustrating. And so we were about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Well, you do the hour setup, right? So I was there at 9 in the morning, and we opened at 10. And it was anticipated that there was going to be a lot of covers, which means each person sitting in a seat is a cover. That's like restaurant language. And so after an hour of doing opening duties, we were almost like an hour and a half into the morning, and I was like, where are all the people? and this was a conversation with the chef. And I said, you know, my time is valuable. I come to work to make money. And his take on my tone and the meaning behind that was different than the fact that I was just making a blanket statement, like, kind of like, why are all these servers here? You know, there's times where they're sending people home, or you'd get a text message driving to work saying, like, what server doesn't want to come in? We have too many servers. I don't know many people nowadays who have the luxury to be like, oh, I don't want to make money today. Like, if I'm on the schedule, I'm on the schedule. I want to go there and work. So the chef asked one of the managers permission to fire me. And I was in the back server station. And this is a personality who, like, really was super excited to fire me because he feels very big and powerful when he's being critical and harsh. Just one of those personalities. And he never liked me. He actually said something to the effect of, when he found out I was from New Jersey, he's like, oh, well, where? And I was like, well, I'm a North Jersey girl, but I raised my kids down the shore. And he's like, where down the shore? And I said, Point Pleasant. And he goes, oh, that makes sense. It all makes sense now. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I dated a girl from Point Pleasant, and she was batshit crazy. So, you know, this is like what I'm dealing with. And, you know, he wanted a reaction. He came back and he said, since your time is so valuable, you can just pack your things and go. You're fired. Get out of here. And I kind of like smiled. And I logged out, and I had to walk across the restaurant to the other server station to get my things. And I said nothing to nobody because, you know, what is there to say? I was like, okay. It was a beautiful day. I was like, I'll go for a hike. I mean, I can't stand working Sundays. That was always my hiking day. I was like, there's a million other things I could do. I have a ton of laundry to do. I have a ton of catch up to do. So he wanted a reaction. You know, he was standing there. He's watching me intently. And he was very proud of himself that he got to fire me. And so, yeah, just like, I felt so relieved, I have to be honest, because I was lamenting over, I'm catering and then running my business, and I wasn't really happy there. It wasn't a healthy environment for my personality. And I was like, well, you know, I have this training coming up for another job, but I'll just hold on to this. And I know better. I should have just left. I was feeling sick all the time, and my energy was low, and I just wasn't myself. I'm very sensitive to my environment. And I made a promise to myself when I relocated that I would never keep myself in a poor situation, because even when I was working at the college, there was one person that I worked under their leadership, and they made the experience for me a nightmare. You know, I just wasn't liked, whether she was threatened or what. But when your boss, the first day of work, comes into your office and looks you up and down and says, oh, I used to be that thin and in shape, you know you're in trouble. And then I made the mistake with that boss of going to HR after years of dealing with insanity. And, you know, that was a mistake in corporate. Don't ever go to HR. I mean, I hate saying that, but unfortunately, I've heard this over and over again, like you're marked as like, oh, the person that went to HR. It wasn't really helpful. And that was a really dark time of my life, and we were able to get free counseling as employees there, and I was in the counseling center all the time. So it was not an accident that I wound up my last year at the college working under amazing leadership. Thank you, Kate. You are an amazing human being, and you redeemed my experience at Ocean County College by working with you. But I was able to go into the counseling center for my last year. So, yeah, very interesting. So I think the whole point of this video is when you know deep inside that you are not where you're supposed to be. And I can tell you, not everyone's like this. Like, I've had this conversation with so many people, and they're like, I'm not affected by my environment at all. Did you ever meet those people that could work in an office all day with no windows and, like, I don't know, they say they're not affected. I feel like everybody's affected by that lack of sunlight and being enclosed for 7-8 hours a day. Just don't think it's normal or healthy, but there are people who are not affected to the environment around them as much as other people. And I know better, because when I just do things because like, oh, I'm just going to make money, it never works out. So often life will make decisions for you if you're kind of sitting on your hind legs and not taking action. And I was so relieved that the decision was made for me, because I was really considering of like hanging on to that job for, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, just as supplement income, and it just wasn't the right environment for me. So yeah. So I was fired for the first time ever, 46 years old, woo! And the building was a prison. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't shocked by that. Like, my body knew something felt very off for me. And I literally felt like I was in prison there. So it's very, very interesting. But trust your gut. I teach this and I say this all the time, and sometimes I don't always follow through. And I think that's another really important message. I think people think that if you're in a leadership position or you're some type of educator, like you should always get it right and it should always be perfect and you should never make mistakes and, never falter. And I just think that's such hogwash. Let's bring compassion and humanity back into the mix all around, right? I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. But I didn't listen to my gut. I really didn't trust myself. And I think if I had left weeks ago when I wanted to, I think doors would have opened, because I could tell you what, when this happened, all these other things started coming together within 24 hours. It was just amazing. Like, things started to open up, and that happens a lot because you can get yourself in this energy trap, or sometimes even that like emotional constipation. Like I could feel myself all clogged up because I was so miserable. So yeah, that's my story. You too could get fired in your 40s too if you really want to. I could teach you how. And all I said was, I value my time, and when I go to work, I work to make money. And and in the restaurant business, there's people doing blow, there's people getting high, there's people coming in hammered, reeking of booze. There's people ordering Starbucks and walking out the building when they're on clock, they're clocked in, going to get their order. And there are people who argue with managers because they didn't get the biggest table. So there's all these other things that I witnessed. People coming in an hour late, 45 minutes late, 30 minutes late, and never, nothing said to them. And I just said, hey, I really value my time, and I want to come to work and I want to make money. If I'm standing there for 2 hours, it's just a waste of my time. And yeah, absolutely, I could just not work there and I could have quit. But yeah, so anyway, lessons learned, and I just thought it was funny, so I wanted to share. Take care. Who knows what's going to happen next, y'all? I'll keep you posted.